You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button.
LSU, Baylor, Texas Bowl. When you look at bowl season in today's college football, a giant part of the conversation, not giant, actually, I'd say the main part of the conversation is opt-outs, transfer portal, all those things. Which team's motivated to be there? Which team has the most left on its roster to actually have success and potentially win the game? So, with that being the main conversation point, depth charts always come into focus this time of year. And I thought, being as that we have the end of today and then Monday to really talk about this game and put a button on it, now would be a fantastic time to talk about the depth chart. One reason why is because LSU got even more good news Friday morning, and that was when Greg Penn, senior linebacker, number 18, made it official that he will play in LSU's game against Baylor in Houston, Texas Bowl. I say make it official because, quite honestly, that was something that had just long been assumed. Greg Penn was going out, was out on the field, participating in bowl practice with LSU. You're not really going to do that unless you play. But again, him making it official is a good thing for LSU because now you look at this and you see a linebacking corps that is at full strength. I mean, you'll have Whit Weeks. West Weeks can play in this game as well and it not count towards his eligibility. You have Greg Penn. You have Devon Keys. Like, you've got your guys full strength. It's a veteran player who's played a lot of football, a 3-year starter for LSU, back-to-back 80 tackle seasons, and you're looking at over 250 tackles in his career. That is a boost to LSU's defense. You are better in this bowl game with Greg Penn playing in it. You'll still have your rotation and things of that nature at linebacker. He's not going to be out there every down, but you're better having that unit at full strength. So, as with that a jumping off point and just the conversation that always surrounds bowl games today, let's look at the LSU depth chart. And when I was crafting this and trying to really figure out the way to best attack it, it's like, man, where's LSU the thinnest? But outside of really call it two positions, LSU isn't thin in this game. Depth they have. You've had 17 departures in the transfer portal. And then you've had certain guys declare their intention for the NFL draft and not play in the game. You've had guys declare their intention and are going to play in the game. A guy like Miles Frazier. But for every Miles Frazier, you have Will Campbell, Emory Jones, Mason Taylor, Kyron Lacey. Guys of that stature. So 17 departures and then some guys who are foregoing to prepare for the draft, and in their case, 100% the right call. You have a guy like Garrett Dellinger not going to play. But it doesn't necessarily leave LSU thin, except that really two positions, and they intertwine, and I'll talk about that momentarily. LSU has depth. You've got everybody else. What you have is inexperienced depth. And that's a much larger conversation when we look at LSU in this bowl game. And we'll, again, have plenty of time to talk about that when we look at guys you want to see, like a Deshaun Spears, right? Like Tyree Adams, Paul Mubanga, potentially on the offensive line. Get more run for P.J. Woodland, Devon Keys. You'll have all that opportunity to see those guys. So you really have depth there. Jordan Gilbert's going to play and start in the game. You don't know what's going to happen with Major Burns, but Javian Toviano will probably slide down and play star. That's where he repped plenty. So a look at a young guy there. And you'll have Deshaun Spears, who can play deep safety or star. Deshaun Spears actually played deep safety, field safety, and star. He's played every position he could. Along your defensive line, Swenson, Jones, they're going to play. Paris Shand, he's going to play. You feel pretty good there. No official word on Gio Paez. I guess you'll just wait and see. But even then, you have Dom McKinley and Ahmad Bro and young guys, Gabe Relaford, who you've seen emerge and play well when given the opportunity, and this is just another opportunity. On defense, you're pretty stacked. Ashton Stamp, Zy Alexander, P.J. Woodland, they're all playing. On the offense is where it gets interesting. And there's no question where LSU is the thinnest. LSU is the thinnest at tight end. You've got Trey'Dez Green, and that's about it. Giovanni Peterson is the other guy. He's a former walk-on who just earned a scholarship, I believe, in 2023. But Trey'Dez Green, mind you, was moved over to receiver. You had to move him back here in the bowl game because you need that tight end. That raises some questions for me personnel-wise with LSU, and I'll get to those in a moment. Tight end impacts two other positions on this team, though. Wide receiver is one of them. I mean, Aaron Anderson, we know, is going to play. Xavion Thomas, he's going to play. Chris Hilton. Then you have Jelani Watkins, Kylan Billiant, guys like that, but that's pretty much it. Remember, Shelton Sampson left in the portal. Kyle Parker is out for the season. You got 5 guys. You lose one of them goes down, and you're either going to a walk-on or you're moving Trey'Dez Green back over to wide receiver. And then what do you do at tight end? It also impacts the offensive line because we went through this a few weeks ago, and we're looking at LSU and watching all the practice videos, right? They were releasing the practice videos, and you could see Nuss at quarterback, so you knew is who they were repping at first-team offensive line. And from left to right, in those practice videos, it was Tyree Adams, Paul Mubanga, DJ Chester, Bo Bordelon, and Miles Frazier. The interesting thing there is you look at Bo Bordelon, and you look at a guy who has played in all 12 games this season as a redshirt sophomore. The caveat there is that's been at tight end. Remember that whole move earlier in the season, like heading into week 2, when they strapped 89 onto Bo Bordelon and let him just be that extra offensive lineman, the big blocking tight end in that scheme to try and get more push in the run game? Because that was the thing that happened. Now you look at that and it's like, okay, well, Trey'Dez Green out there, not the most experienced blocker. He's been working hard at it. Brian Kelly's commended him as well when he's met with the media on doing the dirty jobs more in these bowl prep. But do you risk coming predictable by formation, having Trey'Dez Green in there at tight end, knowing he's not the strongest blocker, knowing his forte right now in his career is catching the ball? Well, how do you get around that? You need somebody else to play tight end. Is that going to end up being Bo Bordelon? Now, again, you become predictable by formation in that situation. That's not something that you want to do. So I think LSU will avoid that at all costs. But Bo Bordelon has spent most of his time playing that attached tight end and just to be like an extra offensive lineman, a sixth offensive lineman. So if he goes to that role, what do you do at guard? And look, the very obvious answer there is Cohen Eccles, because they have been incredibly high on Cohen Eccles all season as a backup. He's played in 4 games. He can preserve his red shirt, which is fantastic, and play in this game with no repercussion towards his eligibility. A high 4-star that they flipped out of Texas A&M signing class back in 2023. That's the very obvious choice as to where you would go, because if you look at others, at the guard spot, you're looking at guys who just haven't even played. So those 3 positions are very intertwined here for LSU in the bowl game. You're a turned ankle away of being thin at wide receiver because you really only have 5. And tight end, you have Trey'Dez Green and Giovanni Peterson, who's a former walk-on. You might need Bo Bordelon there as well. And that's where he's played. That's where it's going to be really, really interesting to watch LSU. Because if they are to win this game against Baylor, they're going to have to score points. I think LSU's defense is going to have a pretty good day against Baylor, but LSU's defense is still LSU's defense this year, and they're still limited. Baylor's going to score. They're going to get theirs, and LSU's going to have to be able to match it. But with a makeshift offensive line that could see further shuffling in the game, that's something to watch. And a wide receiver room that is a hair or turned ankle away from being thin, that's something to watch. It'll be interesting to see how LSU fares, but defensively, the depth chart is pretty good. Offensively, you definitely have some questions.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.